Hey, we're about to make one of the most simple apps possible in App Inventor. One of the most simple games possible, I should say. So, if you see, I have two assets I imported here, a coin and a character. I got both of these off opengameart.com. I'll link to them at the bottom. And here's how we're going to start. We're going to use a canvas to be our game area. But what we need to do is we need to make it fill up the whole screen, or as much of the screen as possible, I should say. So we're going to set height to fill apparent. We're going to set width to fill apparent. Then we're going to use two image sprites. One's going to be our coin. So I'm going to go ahead and rename this coin. The other is going to be our hero. So I'm just going to go ahead and rename this hero. And you see how he's really small? We can go up here and we can manually set the size. And I think I did like 40 by 40 and it worked. I thought that looked pretty good. You can play around with it, make it look however you want. But I did 40 by 40. So now I want to be able to keep track of my score and my lives in this app. So we're going to need two labels. 1, 2. And something I always do on my apps, I always make sure I do center, center. And do you see how our labels are on top of each other like that? That's no good. We want them to be side by side. I'm going to go into layouts, horizontal arrangement. And what I need to do is I need to drop this one, boom, and I need to drop this one, boom, right on top of each other. I'm going to make this one my score label. I'm going to make this one my lives label. Score 0. And I guess I'm just going to have lives start out at 3. You can do what you want. I'm going to also make these a little bit bigger. I also think it looks good to sometimes bold them, so I might do that as well. Boom, boom, boom. And I don't like that plain white background, so I'm just going to go blue. And I'm going to make this like that. Boom, boom, boom. Cool. So we have two labels, two image sprites, and we're going to do something similar on the bottom, but instead of two labels, we're going to make a start and a restart button. So I got my two buttons. I'm going to grab my arrangement, go ahead, put them inside like so. This one's going to be my start button. Start. And I always like to make my start buttons green. And then this is going to be my restart button. Boom, 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 restart. And that's about all we need on our designer for now. So, just to recap, two horizontal arrangements. This one has two labels. This one has two buttons. A canvas with two image sprites. About all we need for now. So let's hop over to blocks. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say when I'm dragging my hero, I need to move my hero to somewhere. Where I want to move him to is where my finger currently is. If you read all these blocks here, it goes through, but basically what it says, this is where your finger starts. This is where it currently is. This is where it was one frame ago. So we're going to go current, current. And if you go test, you should now be able to drag your hero around all over the screen. We have not done anything yet with the coin. So we're going to say When something collides with the coin, I need to add 1 to my score. So I need a variable now called current score. We're going to initialize it to 0. And every time I collide with the coin, I'm going to set current score to whatever it currently is plus 1. Now, one of the biggest things to remember is the player cannot see your variable. This exists invisibly in the background. We want this to appear here in the score label. So we're going to find score label, set text, and you could simply snap that in, but I think it looks a lot nicer to use one of these join blocks. We're going to pop that here. And this is going to say score. And always put that space in because the computer won't do it for you. Boom. Now, that will allow you to collect the coin. That will make your score go up. But the coin will just stay there. So now we need to have the coin move somewhere. Notice how these two blocks are the same thing. But we don't want to use current X, current Y. We're going to randomize it a bit. So we're going to go find this random integer. One here, one here. We're going to go from 1 to something else. We wanted to use the entire canvas. We wanted to go all over the canvas. So we're going to go from 1 to our canvas's width and 1 to our canvas's height. And that will allow the coin to go all over the screen randomly. You should be able to collect it. And see your score going up. So take a moment, test it out, make sure it works. So I went and added one more thing to my app. I went and added one more thing to my app real quick. I added this fireball, and again, I'll include the link to it. And this is what we are going to need our start and our restart button for. So we're going to need another image sprite, and this one's just going to be the fireball. And I'm going to set its height and width manually. I think I did 40. Let's drag it over a bit. 40. And there it is. We're going to rename this Fireball. So before we hop back over, I'm going to go to my hero, uncheck enabled, because what I want to happen is when I click start, I want to enable my player, and I want my fireball to start moving around the screen, and I have to dodge it. So when I click start, what I want to happen is I want my hero set enabled to true. I'm going to find my fireball. I'm going to set its speed. I'm just going to go 15 for now. This might not be good. I honestly don't know. And then I want to set its heading. But I don't want to go 15. I'm going to use one of those random blocks like before. Say from 1 to 360. Boom, boom, boom. So when I click start, my fireball will start bouncing around. Will start moving. We need to tell it to bounce off the sides. And there we go. So now we just put an error in our game because if our fireball hits our coin, it's going to add to our current score. So what we need to do is every time something collides with the coin, we need to ask, was this the player? So this other block is how we can ask, what was the other thing involved? Because if you think about it for a second, Every time something hits the coin, there must be some other image sprite involved. So we're going to ask, and I'm going to make the decision to use the math ones now. It doesn't matter, but I'm going to, just for consistency. So we're going to say if other was our, get this out of the way, hero, then we're going to do all of this. So we're going to have to do something very similar, actually, with our fireball dot collide. So I'm just going to duplicate this whole thing and then get rid of all of that for now. So same idea. If other was our hero, we now need a variable for current lives, and we're going to set this to 3. So every time our fireball hits our player, current lives is equal to current lives minus 1. Same idea right here. Watch. I'm just going to duplicate this whole thing. Now I want to use lives label. Current lives. Lives. Very similar to what we've did before. But now we haven't set it up at all, so to stop the game when we run out of lives. So let's add in another if statement down here. And I'm going to say if current lives is less than or equal to 0, what we're going to do to stop the game is we're going to set our fireball speed to 0. We're going to disable our player. And now one last thing. We never set up our reset button. So let's just go ahead and say, and watch, I'm just going to duplicate all these things. Current score, get rid of that, to 0. Update the label. We're going to put that right there. Current lives, 2, 3. Update our label. Boom, boom, boom. So go ahead, test it out, make sure it works. Hope it's fun.